the product curves, and I'll give you a few definitions to get started, and then I'll explain what the product curves are actually telling us. So the total product is the total quantity produced by a firm for a given quantity of input necessities. The average product is the product produced per unit of the variable input employed when fixed inputs are held constant, and the marginal product is the addition to the total output by adding one more worker to the labour force. Now, what these curves are actually showing us is all the same thing, and that is the law of diminishing returns. And we can see when the law of diminishing returns sets in. So if we look at the total product in the upper part of this diagram, we can see the law of diminishing returns setting in about point A. Now, the law of diminishing returns is a short-term law, which means that in the short term, we know that at least one factor of production is fixed. So variable factors are being added to this fixed factor, and that's why we get diminishing returns. So the diminishing returns means that eventually our marginal returns of the variable factor will begin to fall. So any additional worker we add to the labour force will become less productive than the previous worker. But what we can see is from point A, our output is actually still increasing all the way up. So our output doesn't go down, but what is going down is our marginal product. So the addition of another worker from point A means that they are less productive or producing less output than the previous worker. And that's what law of diminishing returns is. Now, it's more around this point when the curve becomes less steep. When the curve becomes less steep, that's saying we're adding less output for each worker we employ. Now, as I've put in my notes over here, this isn't due to the fact that these workers are less motivated or less efficient. What it is due to is that they've exhausted any specialization and division of labor they can. So they can no longer specialize or divide the labor to make themselves more efficient, and as a result the marginal productivity begins to fall. And so this diagram is representing the law of diminishing returns.